Salaar is a storm, and Prashanth Neel is a Herculean storyteller who has once again pulled off another cinematic spectacle. And when I say spectacle, I don't just intend to focus on visual storytelling. In those couple of interviews, he mentioned how he is more concerned about the drama, and it is the drama that truly creates those elevations, and that is true to a great extent for all the films of Prashant Neel, including Salaar. Some moments are purely driven by drama and they eventually lead to a grand celebratory image that is motivated by a coherently effective background score from Ravi Basroor. I had a gala time at the theaters. Now, if you are new here, I will be talking about a few more details about Salaar, which will spoil it for you if you haven't watched it yet. So, you have been warned. Now, yes, Salaar feels a lot like Ugram, and there are a couple of callbacks to KGF as well, but this is something that I consider as a signature trademark of a director. However, I will say that I do not wish for these elements to be used excessively. Yes, you can always integrate some of them, but everything should not always come together and feel like another cinematic culmination of the same stuff that we have seen before in its entirety. As for Salar, we get callbacks like the kid who sells tea, how a son's promise to her mother determines his reality, a character telling a story as a flashback, and of course, the hope of a divine intervention that will rescue the powerless from the shackles of their abusers. Speaking of the color tone, honestly, it feels different from Ugram and KGF. I won't say it's a copy paste of the same hues and shadows, but that's just my opinion. And speaking of callbacks, the entire scene of how Deva becomes the reincarnation of goddess Kali to punish the perpetrators, I really like the elevation of that scene. Yes, it has been done in Ugram, and a similar scene has been done in KGF Chapter 2, but I would say that Salar had a much better and a more massier version of the same. What I really appreciated about Salar is the world building of Khansar. Prashant Neel and his team of writers, art directors, and production designers have surely learned from their experience of building Narachi, and now they are using those learnings to design a new world that is more expansive and has way more historical significance. I like how Khansar represents this creative merger of fiction and reality, but the most impressive part is the significance of the jewelry or the bracelets worn by the lords of Khansar and the symbolism attached with those bracelets. These bracelets symbolize power and wealth in terms of owning different pieces of land in Khansar. The best moments for me are when we see an abacus of those bracelets that represent leaders of every clan and how each bracelet is a vote for supporting or not supporting the ceasefire. Then, during the date of ceasefire, we have a weighing scale on which the lords and kings will place their bracelets. The weight of those bracelets will determine the final result, and I really like this symbolism. Bhuvan Gowda once again deserves praise for capturing the world of Khansar. This time, he seems to be avoiding too much headroom to show the characters as towering personalities on the big screen. And then we also have a lot of wide shots that complement the grand structures of Khansar. Prashant Neel is once again going ahead with the same non-linear cross-cutting structure about which I discussed extensively in my video essay. You can find the link for that video essay in my description and also either on the right or left side of this video frame. We still don't know the reason behind the loss of camaraderie between Vardha and Deva. We stopped there with Deva at the interval and are now told the story of Khansar. And just like KGF, we keep cross-cutting to the characters of Shruti Hassan, who acts like the audience with her surprised expressions. Now, there is one scene before the midpoint where the TV screens suddenly lit up behind the character of Radharama and we see everything happening at the checkpost. This sudden lighting up of the TV screens felt very random, to be honest, and it did not make sense to me. Also, while I do appreciate the Hindi dubbing efforts, but just because you are releasing it in the north, it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily also include a Haryanvi or a Rajasthani dialect. That's just my opinion because those dialects looked very out of place. I mean, you could have continued uh, the same Hindi language for the entire film. In the end, I will say that I'm excited for part 2, Shauranga Parvam, and it comes sooner, I hope, and we don't have to wait for another 2 or 3 years. Salar Part 1 has definitely done its job, and I'm curious to know what you think about the film. You can support the channel by hitting the red subscribe button and pressing the bell icon. My name is Porush, and as always, long live cinema.